There's so many great people in our industry, so many of them. And, whether it is Raj Kapoor or Guru Dutt or Dev Anand or Shah Rukh Khan or Ranbir Kapoor in the present times, they've all been there. And when you, even the people that you don't meet, even internationally speaking, like Martin Scorsese or Christopher Nolan, so many great filmmakers, Daniel Day-Lewis, so many great actors, So even the people that you don't actively get to meet, you get to sample their work. You get to see them on screen, the films that they have made, the films that they have acted in. And whenever you try to eavesdrop into their mind, whenever you try to look at how they are thinking, you realize that there's one thing that's common amongst all of them, and that is madness. It's delusion. Delusion. So is it getting a little complicated? Should I simplify it a bit? So when Shah Rukh Khan looked at the Mumbai city at Bandstand and said that one day I'm going to own this city, that was delusion. I'm sure if there was a second guy standing right next to him, he would have turned around and said, "Pagal ho gaya tu? दिमाग खराब हो गया तेरा, कैसी बातें कर रहा है तू?" At some point of time, हम सबकी लाइफ में एक ऐसा मोमेंट आता है जब हम कुछ कहते हैं, and that thing is delusional enough for somebody else to turn around and look at us and say, तेरा दिमाग खराब हो गया, तेरे बस की नहीं है. Am I right? I am right, right? So it must have happened in all our limited exposures to life. I'm not much older than you, at least I'd like to believe that. But at some point of time, all of us and all great people in this world have had a vision which has exclusively been their own. It's not shared with anybody because not many people have believed in it. It could be from the theory of relativity to Darwin's theory of evolution to anything in the middle, such as life. So my second tool of my life is delusion. Gratitude and delusion, these are the two things I'm going to speak about. I came to the kingdom of dreams, the city of dreams, Mumbai, in 2001 to become an electronics and telecommunication engineer. And I became an electronics and telecommunication engineer. And I'm not very good at it. तो अगर आप लोगों के telephones के अंदर कोई भी problem हो, cell phones में कोई भी problem हो, मुझे मत देना, मेरे बस की कुछ नहीं है. So, let me go back a little bit in time. And so when I should have taken commerce, because I was good enough for that, I thought that I would also enjoy a lot of my friends. I went ahead and I was delusional enough to take up science. And then I was delusional enough to believe that I'll be able to do well at it, and I actually did well in science. And then I was delusional enough to believe that I'd be able to compete with HSC students who had way better percentages than mine in 12th, and I'd be able to get a seat in their college in their city, and since I was delusional enough, I got that too. That's where I disconnected from my delusion for some time and I got into realism. And then realism limited me. Because at that point of time, it didn't take me long enough to realize that this course is not for me, because in the very first semester, 4 months into my engineering, I failed in 4 out of my 5 papers. So now you will not clap. Will you? So 4 out of my 5 papers, and that dominoes effect continued, and in the subsequent semester also I failed in 4 out of my 5 papers, and I landed up back in the city where I came from, which was Gurgaon. And a little bit about my father is he comes from a village where there was no electricity until some time back. And he studied there, and I'm able to talk in English in front of all of you because he studied very, very hard, and he's worked very hard, and he topped Uttar Pradesh in his time. And then his son goes to another city altogether, takes the honor of his family with him, and then fails there. Miserably. Falls flat on the face and comes back to his city. ऐसा लगता है जैसे वो हमारे पिक्चरों में दिखाते हैं कि लड़की की शादी हुई और ससुराल वालों ने वापस भेज दिया. तो जो प्रेशर परिवार वालों पे आता है, जो माँ बाप के ऊपर प्रेशर आता है, कुछ वैसा ही प्रेशर मेरे माँ बाप ने ले लिया था. And obviously it found its way to me also, because I was constantly seeing, अरे आप तो दुबे जी के लड़के हैं ना, वही जिन्होंने यूपी टॉप किया था, आप तो फेल होके वापस आ गए. क्यों पढ़ाई लिखाई नहीं होती क्या वहां पे? सब आप बच्चे लोग एक जैसे ही होते हैं, स्पेंसरिफ टाइप के. So I had to listen to all these comments, and because I was vulnerable, because I was young, very, very impressionable, a little thing like this pushed me to the edge and I contemplated suicide. So at that point of time, I wish that I was delusional enough for my future self to come to me and look me in the eye and say, "Teko pata hai teri life kya hone wali? Do you even know what's going to happen to you? You're going to be a TV actor. Do you know that? You're going to do so many good shows. There are going to be some awards down the line. You're going to get married to the most beautiful woman in the world. Your life is going to transform completely." If I was not realistic in that moment, I wouldn't have committed the most shameful act of my life, which was an attempt to end it. Well, this moment passed. Thankfully, I was a failure at that too. So I came back home, and as time passed, My then girlfriend introduced me to the philosophy of life that basically anchored me completely. All of us, I believe, need a spiritual anchor. For me, it is Buddhism. For you, it could be something else. But whenever you have a spiritual anchor, it gives you a tremendous self-worth. And when it gives you a tremendous self-worth, you are able to look at not just yourself with a high amount of respect, you are able to look at everybody with that same amount of respect. Now, there's a book called Power, Freedom and Grace, and I read it, and in that, I read this quote which somehow became the bedrock of my life, that from where I stand, infinity extends in all directions, which makes me the center of the universe. But from where you stand, also infinity exists in all directions, which means that you are also the center of the universe. From a space where I wanted to end my life because I didn't think that I was good enough, I was thinking that I was the protagonist of my story. I was the hero. And I looked at myself as the hero, no matter how small the challenge, no matter how big. I would always take it in my stride, look at it in the eye and grab the bull by the horns. There was this heroic nature in me which I came face to face with. And I was very, very proud of it. That heroic nature kind of became addictive. And so much so that I didn't even want to do parallel lead roles in my shows. I would only do roles when I was offered the hero's role. So, time passed and I'll try to pace it up a little bit. Like I said, I'm not prepared with a speech, so I'm going to go all incoherent and I'm going to talk a lot of nonsense, so I'm sorry about that. I hope I'm not till this point of time though. For the subsequent 4 years, I was in the industry.